Hey guys, how's it going? ItZMuRdA here with a patch note overview for March 21st. Scheduled maintenance for this week. We've not got a whole lot going on, but some things worth noting. First of all, there are a few outstanding issues, namely still the invulnerability issue. It seems like they have a temporary fix for it, so it shouldn't be happening anymore. Unfortunately, that means that they had to turn off Warpgate and VR training invulnerability. So you can kill yourself and other people. I didn't shoot that guy, it was just for testing purposes. Nobody was actually injured. In the making of this video, he was injured a little bit, but he'll be fine. So you don't want to do that. You don't want to be, hurting others or yourself. You especially don't want to be doing it intentionally or griefing people or killing people in Warpgates and VR for the time being. But if that fixes the invulnerability problem, then it's probably for the better. For what that's worth. If you still see somebody who is invulnerable, which you shouldn't, tell them if they're abusing it, report them, and so on and so forth. Speaking of which, Higby put out a post saying that they did ban people, some permanent, some 3-day, some 7-day, depending on the severity of the issue, for intentionally abusing that. Obviously, if you were banned and you didn't even know, you want to, pursue some sort of recourse for getting unbanned, because it was not intentional for you to exploit it. Then you can see about appealing it. Don't waste their time if you know that you're guilty and you were shouting out and yell, ha ha ha, I'm invulnerable. Obviously, obviously it was intentional in that case, but hopefully they actually crack down on people who were exploiting it, and didn't really get anybody caught up in it who was innocent. But that's all I'm going to say about that. As you guys know, I'm a huge proponent of abiding by the rules, even when it's not something that you created. Even when a bug like that happens, not exploiting it, reporting it, avoiding it if it happens to you, redeploying, logging out, so on and so forth. So just a heads up for the future as well, that they mean business, and if you're going to exploit something like that intentionally, there will be consequences, so don't do it. Moving along from that, there are some crashes still going on, but they are what they are. They're, of course, working to fix them. As far as the actual patch notes themselves, anybody who still couldn't get the class quiz should now have that, so all of your characters will be able to take that class quiz upon login and get your free weapon and camo and boost. Likewise with cert point rewards from earned medals, that should now be all straightened out. The rest was really largely map related, as well as some update to Amurish bugs and so forth. Instant action improvements again, as far as just randomly throwing you into a hex, predefined areas where you're going to drop in. Updated map is now available. I don't know how much you're going to really tell unless you're very familiar with the Amurish map from here, but there were some areas where there were, old residue of things of years past that has been changed, that has been fixed. Likewise with the maps for ItZMuRdA and Indar, hex boundaries and things like that were a little bit off were updated. There we go, properly as well. Again, like I said, various terrain bugs, holes, occlusion issues, deprecated objects, flora issues, floating rocks, blah blah blah. Added a new vehicle spawn and ammo tower to subterranean nanite analysis, another lift bridge at Araxis Firearms, a jump pad at Onatha Southwest. Again, cosmetic bugs as well that were fixed. Easier to attack the crown from the north. I don't know if this is actually represented on the map. Yeah, I guess so, right? Added a path up the hill for Sunderers. Excuse me. So I'm assuming they're talking about this area, extending out and so forth. I haven't actually been there myself. It probably would have been helpful if I was for this video, but for what that's worth, the north was always kind of a wacky spot to attack from. A lot of people did it, but it would, unless you were really overwhelming in population, it would usually result in your efforts being for naught, especially with the cap points being on the opposite side of the spawn in the main tower from where you're coming from. So hopefully that helps out a little bit. You've also got improvements attacking from the west, path up near the bridge on the west. I'm assuming that is in this area. That's what it would look like to me. Which is probably for the better, because lots of times you'd park under this or whatever, and it'd be kind of a pain to get up. So, good deal there. Gameplay improvements around Havar, Quartz Ridge, Sandstone Gulch, and Havar satellites, and then some balance changes. Interesting things that I didn't expect. So, high velocity ammo. I always liked it. In many cases, I preferred it over soft point. Lots of times you won't really have both as an option. Most weapons are tuned for one or the other, and it offers just that ammo type or no ammo. And in the past, I would always get ammo if one was, pretty much if one of them, soft point or high velocity, was offered, I would, get it over as opposed to having no ammo, because I think the benefits of them generally outweigh the downsides. In the case where both were offered, I probably favored high velocity more often. Things that I can think of off the top of my head are like the NS-11C. Both is offered on that, as well as other NS weapons in general. Tend to prefer high velocity on there, but now high velocity is getting buffed, which I thought was interesting, especially hugely buffed on carbines. So anyway, more noticeable damage increase at range. Differs by weapon. In general, minimum damage range has been increased by 80%. I'm assuming that also affects the curve of the damage degradation. 80% on carbines and 40% on all other weapon types compared to previous values. So I mean, I'm goofing around with an ACX-11 in here. I probably could have grabbed a scope or something, but it just it seems pretty crazy to me that it essentially increased that range. Then again, maybe you're not really using carbines at far enough of a range to be noticeable. I don't know, but I thought high velocity was in a pretty good spot. Not that I'm complaining about it. Maybe they wanted a faster time to kill at longer range, and maybe it's really not that big of a deal unless you're fighting at 100 meters or something like that. But assuming it increases the damage drop off and reduces the degradation, if you will. I'm not much of a 4X guy, but anyway, especially with a weapon like the NS-11C, for instance, which I already ran it on because of relatively slow velocity. Now you end up having the ability to, say, run laser sight and high velocity and 1X, which was a typical loadout to cover close range very well with hip fire, and now to cover mid and long range even better than before by having the change to high velocity ammo. So I don't know. I'm fine with it. I don't think it's making high velocity ammo overpowered or anything like that, but it was something I didn't expect, but I welcome all the same. So we'll have to actually try it out, see how it plays out. Suppressor attachments, similar respect. I started reading this. I personally am not a big fan of suppressors. I don't think that they're generally worth using for their penalties. So I started reading reduce the penalty at the minimum damage range. I like that. I think it's a good change. And then it says accept SMGs. I understand that, I guess, because SMGs are meant to be silent, but not quite pack the same punch in close quarters. Although I think they could have afforded to not exclude SMGs from this, and it really still be fine. I don't think that this change is going to make much of a difference for me. I probably won't be using suppressors anymore on non-SMGs just because of it, but it is what it is, and it's there. Also, a few pistol-specific suppressor tuning, both to damage range and penalty for max and min. Cerberus, Rebel, actually I think those are the only two, and then the Emperor and the Inquisitor actually play the appropriate TR audio when suppressed. This is a big one, no pun intended. Head hitbox increased slightly so that it better matches larger helmets. After last week's patch that decreased the head hitbox size, there were some complaints about wonky hit reg. I saw a little bit of it myself when I was playing. Not quite as bad as in the prior patch, whenever that was, a few weeks, months back, that had the hitbox adjustments that were then kind of reverted or fixed or whatever happened to them. But anyway, head hitbox increased slightly again, as opposed to decreased, as well as adjustments to arms so that they're less likely to block heads. Especially if you're shooting somebody from the back, that was really, really easy for your shoulders and arms and stuff, especially also from the side. to cause you to not get headshots when you're supposed to. So hopefully that has alleviated some of the issues with them feeling a little bit wonky, because there was definitely something a little bit off since last week's patch. Pull for assist EXP equal to the kill value. I thought this was an interesting note that kind of just snuck in there too. If I'm reading it correctly, 500 point mag rider that you do 50% damage to will award 250 points. It's kind of like the battlefield model. So if you do 97% damage to some guy and then somebody takes the kill, you should get 97% of the EXP for it now, which is actually really nice. And I think that assist should have worked like that from the get-go. So I'm glad to see it. Death screen waiting for the death animation to fully play before being displayed like it used to. I think that was one of the more popular feedbacks on the new death screen. I like to see that. And some simple bug fixes. Light assault jump jets continue functioning after using a Phoenix if you felt like being heavy and shooting that and then switching back. WDS titles now properly showing up in your title list if you should have one. Camel coverage on all sorts of vehicle cosmetics. Cosmetic, I guess I'm not calling it cosmetic, bug with boost timers telling the time incorrectly has been fixed, as well as client crashes and client memory leaks. These notes kind of just sneak in there at the end of patches, but oftentimes they're actually really important, because crashes are no good and memory leaks are probably even worse. So always glad to hear when stuff like that gets resolved. Anyway, that's pretty much it for now. Those are the patch notes for this week, and we will be back next week with more patch notes. So thanks for tuning in. Let us know what you like, dislike, looking forward to, and so forth, and how everything's going for you. And don't exploit bugs. See you guys soon. Take care.